Desperation was quieter than Kezia Brown expected. It didn't scream. It didn't cry. It settled deep in her chest, heavy and suffocating, while she smiled at strangers and pretended her life wasn't unraveling thread by thread. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. Neon lights buzzed overhead as Kezia balanced 3 plates on one arm, moving fast because speed was the only thing that kept her manager from shouting her name across the room. Her feet throbbed. Her back screamed, but pain had become background noise. Survival required focus. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Once, then again. Kezia didn't look. She already knew. Child services never called just to say hello. During her break, she slipped into the storage room, squeezing between stacked soda crates and boxes of napkins. The door clicked shut behind her, muting the diner's noise. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Final notice. You have 72 hours to demonstrate a stable household. Failure to comply will result in immediate custody intervention. The room tilted. Kezia slid down the wall until she was sitting on the cold concrete floor, knees pulled to her chest. 72 hours. 3 days before they took Nia. Her daughter's face flooded her mind, wide brown eyes, missing one front tooth. The way she slept with her tiny fist twisted into Kezia's shirt, like she feared her mother might disappear if she let go. I won't let them take you, Kezia whispered into the dark. But promises didn't stop paperwork. The social worker's voice echoed in her memory, clinical and detached. A husband would strengthen your case. Stability matters. A husband. The word felt cruel, almost funny. Who married a broke black waitress with a 5-year-old and no safety net. The bell over the diner door rang. Something shifted. Kezia felt it before she saw him, the way conversation stalled, the way forks paused mid-air, the way the room seemed to hold its breath. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed entirely in black, like the color belonged to him. His face was sharp and controlled, carved from something colder than confidence. A dragon tattoo curved along his neck, partially hidden beneath his collar. Not decoration. A warning. Whispers spread. That's him, the Korean billionaire. No, he's mafia. He didn't acknowledge them. His gaze locked onto Kezia. Her breath caught. There was no hunger in his eyes. No curiosity, just calculation, like she was already part of a plan she hadn't agreed to. He walked to the counter. Each step felt deliberate, heavy. I'll have black coffee, he said. His English was flawless, flat, no sugar. Kezia nodded and poured, hands trembling despite her effort to stay calm. When she slid the cup toward him, his fingers brushed hers. Not chemistry, static, danger. You're Kezia Brown, he said. Her heart slammed. I don't give my name to customers. A faint smile curved his lips. It didn't touch his eyes. I'm not a customer. She swallowed. Then what are you? A solution. He placed a sleek black phone on the counter and turned the screen toward her. The world stopped. Nia, captured in a photo walking into school that morning, backpack too big for her small shoulders. Kezia's vision blurred white. You don't touch my child, she hissed, stepping closer. I don't hurt children, he replied calmly. The state does. Slowly, tears burned her eyes. What do you want? He leaned in, voice low enough that no one else could hear. I need a wife by tomorrow. Her mouth fell open. This isn't funny. I don't joke, he said. You need protection. I need legitimacy. We solve each other's problems. She shook her head. I don't even know your name. Han Jun Seok, he said. Billionaire, single father, and very dangerous to refuse. He straightened, already turning away. Think carefully, Mrs. Brown. You have 72 hours. He paused at the door, glancing back. And now, he added softly, you have 36. The bell rang again. He was gone. Kezia stood frozen, heart pounding, staring at her daughter's photo on a stranger's phone. And for the first time, she understood. This wasn't an offer. It was the only way out.
If you're enjoying this story, please like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.
The penthouse didn't feel like a home. It felt like a fortress. Kezia stood just inside the glass doors, her cheap jacket wrapped around her like armor. The city spread beneath her, miles of lights and power, untouchable, untamed. She had never been this high in her life, and never this close to danger. Han Jun-seok removed his coat with calm precision, handing it to an assistant who disappeared without a word. "Sit," he said. It wasn't a request. Kazuya obeyed. A folder landed on the table, heavy, thick, filled with consequences. "This is a marriage contract," Jun-seok said, pouring himself a drink. 1 year, renewable if necessary. Kazuya flipped it open, pulse quickening. Rules, clauses, conditions. No public disobedience. No interviews without approval. No unscheduled contact with rival entities. Her stomach twisted. "This is a prison," she said. "This is survival," he corrected. She read on, eyes burning. "No physical relationship unless mutually agreed. So this is fake," she said aloud. "On paper," he said. "Reality will decide the rest." She slammed the folder shut. "Why me?" For the first time, he hesitated. "You are invisible," he said finally. "The world underestimates you. That makes you safe." Kazuya laughed, sharp and bitter. "Safe isn't what people call me." He studied her face, then, like memorizing a map. "You're strong," he said, "and you have a child. That matters." The door opened behind them. A boy stood there, dark eyes guarded, barely 8, radiating anger. "Who is she?" the boy demanded, voice tight. Jun-seok's jaw clenched. "This is Kazuya." "She's not my mom," the boy said, crossing his arms. Kazuya's chest tightened. "I know. I'm not here to replace anyone." The boy scoffed. "They all say that." Jun-seok dismissed him with a glance, but Kazuya noticed something fragile beneath the boy's steel-cold exterior. Fear. When he left, silence swallowed the room. "My son," Jun-seok said quietly, "needs stability. The board needs optics. My enemies need confusion. And I need my daughter," Kazuya whispered. A pen slid across the table toward her. "Sign." Her hand hovered. "This protects Nia." "With my life," he said without hesitation. She signed. The wedding happened 12 hours later. No flowers. No family. Just signatures, cameras, and a press release that rippled across the internet. Korean tycoon marries unknown black woman overnight. By nightfall, Kazuya was escorted to a massive bedroom overlooking the city. "This is yours," Jun-seok said. "We present as husband and wife. Privately, you have your space." She nodded, exhaustion settling in like a heavy blanket. As she unpacked, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number." She answered. A woman's voice whispered, cold, amused. "Congratulations on your marriage. You've just signed your death warrant." Kazuya's blood ran cold. She rushed into the hallway. Jun-seok. He appeared instantly, as sharp, unflinching. "They know," she said. "You're enemies." "They always know," he said. Alarms blared. Glass shattered. Gunfire erupted from below. Jun-seok grabbed her wrist and pulled her against his chest, turning his body into a shield. "Welcome," he said darkly, "to my world." The first bullet shattered the glass wall behind them. Kazuya screamed as Jun-seok yanked her down, his arm wrapping around her shoulders, pressing her flat against the cold marble floor. Shards rained like ice, slicing into furniture, exploding lights, turning luxury into chaos. "Don't move," he ordered. His voice didn't rise. That terrified her more than the gunfire. Men in black flooded the penthouse, shouting in Korean. Kazuya didn't understand the words, but she understood the intent. They weren't here to scare. They were here to kill. Jun-seok released her only long enough to retrieve a gun from beneath a hidden panel in the wall. When he stood, calm precision vanished. What remained was something lethal. He fired without hesitation. 2 men fell. Blood stained the white floor, bright and unreal. Kazuya's hands shook violently as she crawled backward, heart hammering. She pressed herself against the wall, staring at the man she had married less than a day ago. This wasn't a rumor. This was real. Jun-seok moved like a general, barking orders into an earpiece, coordinating security with calculated precision. A body dropped near her feet. She gagged. Then silence. Gunfire stopped as abruptly as it had begun. Jun-seok turned to her, scanning her face, arms, legs. Are you hurt? She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. He cupped her chin, forcing her gaze to meet his. Kazuya, answer me. No, she whispered. I'm not hurt. His shoulders relaxed just a fraction. The cleanup was swift. Bodies removed. Glass replaced. Like death had never visited. But Kazuya couldn't stop shaking. Later, alone in the bathroom, she scrubbed invisible blood from her hands. Her reflection stared back pale, hollow-eyed. She hadn't just married a powerful man. She had married a war. A knock sounded. Jun Seok stood in the doorway. You should leave, she said quietly, before my daughter arrives. His jaw tightened. They won't touch her. You can't promise that, she said. He stepped closer. I can. Anyone who tries will die. The certainty in his voice chilled her. Days passed under lockdown. Security everywhere. Armed men. Cameras. Kazuya met his son again, Min Jae. Cold. Defensive. Silent. He hasn't spoken since his mother died, Jun Seok explained one night. Not really. The next morning, Kazuya knelt in front of the boy, offering star-shaped pancakes. He stared. She waited. Finally, he took one. That night, Nia arrived. She ran into Kazuya's arms, laughing, aware of the danger surrounding them. Jun Seok watched from the doorway. Something unreadable flickered in his eyes. Family. The next morning, voices raised through the office door. Marrying her was a mistake. A man snapped. She's a weakness. She's under my protection, Jun Seok replied coldly. That makes her a target. Silence. Then he spoke words that froze Kazuya's blood. Anyone who touches my wife or our children signs their death sentence. That night, Kazuya lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The contract wasn't meant to protect him. It was meant to protect her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. You think his name will save you? Another message followed. A wife bleeds first. Her door creaked open. Footsteps. A shadow moved toward her bed. And then a hand closed around her mouth. Kazuya's body went rigid. The hand over her mouth smelled of leather and metal. She kicked, twisted, tried to scream, but the grip only tightened, crushing the sound in her throat. Don't. A voice whispered in her ear. Unless you want your daughter to hear. Terror sliced through her chest. Her mind raced Nia, Min Jae, Jun Seok. A gun pressed into her side. Quiet. The door shut silently behind them. They moved fast, dragging her past guards, lying unconscious on the floor. Someone had planned this. Carefully, professionally. She was shoved into an elevator. The doors closed. The hand left her mouth. She gasped, coughing. Who sent you? She demanded, voice shaking. He laughed softly. Your husband's passed. The elevator opened into the underground garage. A van waited. Before she could react, a sharp sting pierced her neck. The world tilted. Darkness swallowed her whole. Kazuya woke to cold concrete. Her wrists were bound. A hood covered her head. Voices echoed nearby, men speaking Korean, harsh, impatient. She's not what I expected, one said. She doesn't need to be, another replied. She's leverage. The hood was ripped away. Blinding light. She squinted, breath hitching. A man stood before her, older, scarred, eyes full of hatred. Han Jun Seok, he said. Always protecting something. First a wife. Now you. I'm not his weakness, Kazuya said, forcing courage into her voice. I'm his mistake. The man smiled. That's why you'll die. The news hit Jun Seok like a blade to the throat. Security breach confirmed, his head of operations said. They took her alive. The room went silent. Jun Seok stood slowly. Something in his eyes shifted. Not anger, something worse. Lock down every port, he said calmly. No one leaves the city. Sir, I want names, addresses, families. Min Jae watched from the corners wide. She's gone because of you, the boy whispered. Jun Seok knelt in front of him. No, he said. She's coming back because of me. He turned to his men. Prepare the teams. That night, the city burned. Warehouses exploded. Accounts frozen. Men vanished. The underworld understood the message. Han Jun Seok was no longer negotiating. Back in the warehouse, Kazuya was thrown to the floor. You could have lived quietly, the scarred man said. But you married a monster. She lifted her chin, bruised but unbroken. No, she said. I married a man who protects his family. The man laughed. Then let's see how far he'll go. He raised his gun. The door burst open. Gunfire erupted. Bodies fell. Jun Seok stepped through the smoke. Blood stained his hands. Suit torn. His eyes found hers instantly. Kazuya, relief crashed into her so hard she sobbed. He crossed the room in seconds, cutting her restraints, pulling her into his chest. I told you, he whispered against her hair, voice shaking. I told you no one touches you. Sirens wailed outside. His men surrounded them, but the scarred man laughed weakly from the floor. You think this is over? He coughed. She's already marked. Jun Seok froze. Marked how? The man smiled through blood. Your daughter. Kazuya's scream tore through the warehouse. The city was silent, but Kazuya's mind was not. She sat on the edge of the massive bed in Jun Seok's penthouse, legs trembling, staring at her hands. Every second since the warehouse incident had blurred into adrenaline, fear, and disbelief. Yet through it all, one thing was painfully clear. She was alive, and it was because of him. Jun Seok entered quietly, suit still singed along one sleeve, a faint trace of blood on his collarbone. He didn't speak. He only sat opposite her, fingers interlaced, eyes studying her calm, unreadable, impossible to ignore. Why? She whispered. Why do you protect me so fiercely? Why risk everything for me? His gaze softened, but the edge never left his eyes. Because you're mine, he said simply. Kazuya laughed bitterly. I'm not yours. I'm a single mother, a waitress. I'm nothing you should care about. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You underestimate yourself. Her eyes brimmed with tears. I've been underestimated all my life, and now, I'm married to a man I barely know. Daughter has been threatened, and I don't even know if this is love, or fear, or survival. Jun Seok stood, walking toward her slowly, every step deliberate. The room seemed to shrink around him. Love is irrelevant, he said softly. Protection is all that matters. And I will protect you, all of you, until my last breath. Kazuya's heart raced not with fear this time, but with a dizzying, forbidden excitement. This man, the dangerous, untouchable man who commanded armies and destroyed rivals, was vulnerable here. For her. Her hand trembled as it reached out. Tentatively, she touched his sleeve. Electric warmth traveled up her arm, straight to her chest. He didn't pull away. Stop, she whispered. I can't. This is wrong. I shouldn't. He placed a hand gently under her chin, tilting her face toward his. Wrong? He asked. There is no wrong, only what protects and what destroys. Kazuya's breath hitched. Her chest pressed against the sound of her own heartbeat. The line between contract and reality, between survival and desire, blurred until it vanished entirely. Minutes or maybe hours passed in silence. City lights flickered over their faces. Her tears fell freely, but he didn't move away. Instead, he brushed them away with his thumb, a tenderness she hadn't expected, a contradiction to his ruthless reputation. Suddenly, a phone buzzed on the nightstand. Kazuya froze. She hadn't dared to check it, not after the previous threats. Jun Seok picked it up. His expression darkened, sharp and cold. They're back, he said, voice a low growl. They? She asked, fear stabbing her heart. Enemies. And they've escalated. He grabbed his coat, holstered his gun. Get Nia ready. We leave immediately. I'm not going anywhere, she said, panic rising. Not without understanding. Understanding is irrelevant, he said harshly. Then, almost imperceptibly, his tone softened as he glanced at her. You will be safe. Only safe. That's all that matters. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed from the corridor. The penthouse shuddered, as if the walls themselves feared intrusion. Jun Seok's eyes darkened. He moved toward the door, fingers tightening around his weapon. He glanced back at Kazuya, and in that instant, she realized two things. The untouchable man could bleed, he could falter, and she had crossed the line between survival and desire, between contract and love, in ways she could not undo. A shadow appeared at the end of the hallway. Another intruder, faster than security anticipated. Kazuya's heart froze. She tried to scream but managed only a strangled gasp. Jun Seok fired once, then twice. The intruder fell, but in the chaos, a second figure emerged from the darkness, unseen, a metallic glint catching the corner of her eye. Before she could warn him, the world went black. Kazuya's eyes snapped open. Darkness clung to her like a second skin. Her heart hammered so violently it seemed to shake her entire body. Gunfire had ended, or maybe it had just paused. Her mind raced. Nia, Min Jae, Jun Seok. Where were they? A shadow moved. Her throat tightened. She tried to call out, but a hand clamped over her mouth again. Rough, unyielding. You need to be quiet, a voice hissed, unfamiliar and cruel. The world spun as she was dragged through narrow corridors, metal scraping underfoot. Each step made her dizzy, each breath tasted like fear. Somewhere high above the city, Jun Seok's fury had ignited. He had already learned of the latest threat. Security footage, satellite scans, insider reports, all pointing to one brutal truth. Someone had dared to touch his family again. The billionaire who commanded entire criminal empires turned the city into a chessboard. Every warehouse, street, alley became a trap. Every ally doubled. Every enemy hesitated. He moved with calculated violence, a storm in human form. A car exploded in a warehouse district. A group of men never reached their target. Obstacles fell before him with precision that made even seasoned operatives shiver. And yet, every second Kazuya remained in danger broke something inside him that no empire could fix. He clenched his fists until his knuckles cracked. Bring her to me. Alive, he commanded. No excuses. Kill anyone who hesitates. Back in the underground hideout, Kazuya's captor snarled. You're lucky your husband isn't here. He would enjoy killing you personally. I'm not afraid, she spat, though her voice trembled. Because I know he's coming. The man laughed. Naive girl. He may be powerful, but even he has limits. A sudden crash echoed from above. The building shuddered. Metal beams groaned. Kazuya's eyes widened. Jun Seok had arrived. He burst in like a shadow of death. Gunfire tore the walls apart. His movements were a blur, calm, lethal, unstoppable. The captors didn't stand a chance. Within seconds, the room was littered with unconscious men. Kazuya's bindings were cut, and she stumbled into his arms, trembling. Are you hurt? He asked, scanning her quickly. Calm voice, eyes wildfire. I'm okay, she whispered, still shaking. Stay close, he ordered. They won't stop until they're dead, or until I'm dead. Outside, sirens wailed. The city had become a war zone overnight. Explosions lit the skyline. Cars overturned. Smoke rose like a black storm cloud. Jun Seok carried Kazuya through hidden corridors to the rooftop. His eyes scanned every shadow. Then, he froze. Across the street, in a dark alley, van screeched to a halt. A figure leapt out, grabbing someone small. Nia. Kazuya screamed her through him. Stay here, he barked. No, take me with you. She refused. He caught her by the wrist, gaze sharp, almost feral. You stay. If you follow, she dies. Do you understand? Her breath hitched. I understand. But her eyes betrayed her terror. He sprinted across the rooftop, moving like a shadow, invisible and unstoppable. Minutes later, he returned, Nia in his arms, unharmed, trembling against his chest. Before they could breathe, another shot rang out. A sniper, an unseen enemy? Kazuya froze. The terrifying truth hit her. This danger had never been random. It was personal. Jun Seok spun toward the source, eyes narrowing, every muscle coiled like a spring ready to snap. And then she saw it, a figure, hidden in the shadows of the rooftop across the street, raising a gun aimed directly at him. Time slowed. Kazuya's hand flew to her mouth. Jun Seok didn't flinch. He didn't hesitate. And in the split second before the trigger was pulled, the sniper's finger trembled. Jun Seok's gaze locked onto the shadow across the street. Every second stretched into eternity. Then, with a swift, impossible move, he dove, spinning behind a concrete pillar. The bullet tore through the air, shattering glass nearby. Kazuya clutched Nia, heart pounding, 3 ounces of terror coursing through her veins. She watched as Jun Seok emerged from the shadows like a predator, calm, precise, unstoppable. Within moments, the rooftop was silent except for the faint hum of the city below. The sniper had fallen, neutralized before she could even gasp. Jun Seok approached Kazuya. His breathing was even, but his eyes smoldered with fury and relief. "You're safe," he said, low, almost a growl. "Because I told you, nothing touches my family." Kazuya blinked, tears streaming. Words failed her. She clutched Nia tighter and looked up at him. He knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. For the first time, there was no mask, no empire, no fear. Just raw, unguarded emotion. "You think I signed that contract out of convenience?" he asked softly. "I protected you, not because I had to, but because I wanted to." Kazuya's heart lurched. "You love me?" she whispered, afraid to speak it aloud. Jun Seok's lips curved into a rare, fleeting smile. "Yes, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. No threats, no enemies, nothing will come between us." The city lights shimmered behind them. For a moment, the chaos, the blood, the danger all faded. There was only them. She looked at Nia and Min Jae, both watching cautiously, unsure, but trusting. Slowly, the children's arms wrapped around her and Jun Seok. A family, whole, scarred, yet unbroken. The months that followed were a blur of rebuilding. Enemies retreated. The underworld whispered. Jun Seok's empire remained untouchable, but he no longer moved like a ghost of death. He moved like a man who had something precious to protect. And Kazuya? She realized what had started as survival had become something deeper, something fierce, something undeniably real. One evening, on the balcony overlooking the city, Jun Seok held her close. "Do you remember our first meeting?" he asked, voice low, teasing yet tender. She smiled, shaking her head. "You told me I had 72 hours to survive and marry you." He chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "And I meant every word. But I didn't know then that I'd fall for you completely." Kazuya's eyes glimmered. "I fell too. Even when I was terrified. Even when everything was falling apart. I couldn't help it." He kissed her slowly, passionately, as if sealing every promise, every fear, into one perfect moment. The city below was vast and alive, but up here, there was only them. For the first time in her life, Kazuya felt truly safe. No contracts, no threats, no deadlines, just love. Real, unbreakable love. The family stood together, watching the city lights, knowing darkness would always exist, but trusting that together, they could survive anything. And as the stars shimmered above, Jun Seok whispered in her ear, "This time, it's forever." Kazuya smiled, resting her head on his chest. "Forever," she agreed. Because they had survived the fire, and now, nothing could ever destroy them.